of the Jarring Science Club. I'm your host, Brenda, and today we're going to be learning about what happened to dinosaurs. What are they? Where did they go? Why don't we see them anymore today? For this experiment, you're going to need 2 jars, some sand, rocks, some grass, leaves, other building material. They can be toys or stuff you find in your yard or garden somewhere. Maybe some little things like little flower buds. You're also going to need some dinosaur figures and some bird figures. In this activity, we're going to be learning the similarities and differences between dinosaurs and birds. We're going to be comparing the nests of a dinosaur with the nests of the bird and learning a little bit about how they're alike and how they're different. All right, let's get started. Here we are up close, and we're going to make a model of a modern ground bird nest and a ancient prehistoric dinosaur nest. And we're going to see how they're similar and how they're different. In each one, you're going to need a base of sand. During the Triassic period, scientists estimate that it was a warm, hot, dry climate, much like a desert. So most of the Triassic dinosaurs were desert-like animals. So we're going to put in some rocks into our model here. Even though the Triassic period was pretty hot and dry, there was still some vegetation. So this is going to be our Triassic vegetation, and this will represent our modern vegetation because the modern world has a bit more vegetation than the Triassic period. We're going to make our eggs. Dinosaur eggs were a lot more like modern reptile eggs. They were soft and leathery on the outside, and they would have been larger, but they would not have been larger than the dinosaurs in the Jurassic period because the Jurassic period was when the dinosaurs were the largest. In the Triassic period, dinosaurs were more similar to like the size of big animals today, and they weren't ginormous like in the Jurassic period. So over here we have our dinosaur eggs. Since I have a kiwi bird model, that's gonna be what the nest I build. Most kiwis build nests in denser vegetative areas, which isn't quite the same as the Jurassic period, but those are the models we have with. I also only have a dinosaur model from the Jurassic period, so we've got some inconsistencies here, but that's okay. This is just a representation of the similarities between the nests. So here is our modern kiwi nest, and kiwis build nests in kind of vegetative, dense areas. So I'm gonna put, this will be our little kiwi bird nest right up there. And finally, our kiwi bird is going in to sit on the nest. All right, so here is our kiwi nest model. We got our mama kiwi there. We get the rocks, we get the sand, we get the vegetation. We've got the nest with the little eggs on it, which you can't really see on camera, but they're there. So a lot of dinosaurs either made nests out of mud or grasses, or sometimes they just built a little hollow in the ground. So for this one, I'm gonna use this little Play-Doh to represent maybe the mud nest that a Triassic, Jurassic might have used. And we're gonna put that in our little terrarium here next to the grass. And we're gonna plop in our little dinosaur eggs into the nest. And then here's our mama dino. So here we've got the rocks, the sand, a little bit of vegetation from the Jurassic period, our dinosaur, and then here's our nest with the eggs, kind of similarly to how it would have been in the Triassic period. So let's look at these side by side. You can see that the modern bird nest over here and the dinosaur nest have a lot of similarities. So it's kind of easy to see when you look at certain things how similar even the most ancient dinosaurs in the Triassic period were to the birds of today. It's pretty fascinating to think about how a creature 250 odd million years ago turning into something like a kiwi bird that we see on the earth today, and to know that they both kind of evolved one from another over millions and millions of years. There's still so many similarities in their nest building and their body structure and how they live their day-to-day lives, including how they look with feathers and skeletal structures and their beaks and faces and how they raise their young and how they incubate their young and how they live their lives, even though the world was dramatically different 250 million years ago. Here's the science. When you think of a pigeon and you think of a T-Rex, Are they alike or are they different? Pigeons and birds are actually more closely related to dinosaurs than any other creature on the world today. This was a surprising discovery for scientists because originally scientists had thought that dinosaurs were more closely related to reptiles like alligators and crocodiles because they kind of look like them. But when you break down the components of a dinosaur and the components of a bird and study how the dinosaurs changed and shrank over time, a different story is released. Here's a little bit of how that happened. One of the first discoveries that led dinosaurs to realize that birds are actually modern dinosaurs is the fact that many ancient species of dinosaurs had feathers. Because their fossils are so old and we don't have many fully preserved skeletons and fossils of dinosaurs, we didn't realize what their coating was. We had assumed because of their size that they would have leathery skin and a hard shell, kind of like a turtle or a crocodile. But that is not actually the case. Scientists found that when they studied more preserved skeletons of dinosaurs, including even the T-Rex, that they actually had evidence that they had feathers. Not every dinosaur had feathers, but enough did to make scientists ask a new question. Scientists first thought that bird characteristics evolved somewhere in the late Jurassic period. The more research that scientists do on dinosaurs, the earlier they realize that these bird characteristics emerged. Scientists now believe that the evolution of dinosaur to bird actually started over 160 million years ago. The type of dinosaur called a theropod is the dinosaur that has the most direct line of evolution from dinosaur to bird. Dinosaurs slowly evolved smaller and smaller bodies over time, which scientists believe could be because they needed to be able to travel farther to get food, run faster to escape predators, or just to conserve energy so they didn't have to eat as much. So you might be wondering, how are birds and dinosaurs alike and how are they different? Here's some of the things that scientists have studied throughout history to determine the classification of dinosaurs and birds and why they have come to the conclusion over time that birds are most likely the direct descendant of dinosaurs, specifically theropod dinosaurs. First, birds are actually considered to be a type of reptile. Birds have scales on their feet, and the way that feathers grow is actually very similar to the scales of a reptile. Birds lay eggs, reptiles lay eggs, and dinosaurs laid eggs. The brain, heart, and organs of birds and from what we know about dinosaurs are remarkably similar. But it is the actual skeleton of birds versus dinosaurs that makes scientists think that they're actually directly related, more so than other types of reptiles like turtles and alligators. One of the most classic examples of a dinosaur that has a bird-like body is the velociraptor. The way that the legs attach to the skeleton and the head and neck attach to the body are very, very similar to the way a bird's body is shaped today. Just switch out the arms for wings and you have a body that looks very similar to an ostrich or an emu or even a chicken. Dinosaur bones are also hollow, just like bird bones, which help them move faster, even though not all of them flew. Another similarity between dinosaurs and birds are that they both make nests. In our lesson today, we made an example of a land bird nest and a dinosaur nest to compare and see the differences and similarities between the birds. Even looking at dinosaur toys from dinosaurs like velociraptors and T-Rexes and other dinosaurs that stand on two legs, comparing them directly with our bird model toys, we can see that there are a lot of similarities there. Scientists also believe that many types of the early forms of dinosaur birds had feathers, just like modern birds, including the T-Rex. Not many movies or books depict dinosaurs as having these feathers because it wasn't until the 1960s and 1970s that scientists even made these discoveries. The 60s and 70s is still fairly recent in terms of scientific research and information, and it takes quite some time for new discoveries to become common knowledge. But whenever you see a dinosaur movie, and if they're a T-Rex and they don't have feathers, you can say, no, that is inaccurate. T-Rexes probably had feathers just like modern birds. That's it for today. See you next time.